This video is brought to you by Alienware, featuring Intel Core i7 processors. Start gaming.
Hello guys, Jack here, and today we're taking a look at a Steam machine. Lots of hype for these a couple of years ago when they were announced, and then they were delayed, and now finally they've been released and are available to buy in all different shapes and sizes. Alienware sent me over their version of the Steam machine to take a look at, and if you weren't aware, it's basically a tiny PC designed for your living room, and it comes with one of these, a Steam controller. In terms of hardware, the version I have here is as follows: an Intel i7 4785T quad-core processor with a 3GHz turbo speed, an Nvidia GTX GPU with 2GB of GDDR5 memory. It doesn't say exactly what this GPU is, but having researched it online, it's an equivalent to an 860M, which of course is a mobile GPU. We've got 8GB of 1600MHz dual channel DDR3 memory, a 1TB 6GB a second SATA 3 hard drive, and also Intel dual band wireless. Moving on to the outputs on the system, we've got two USB 2.0 ports at the front, two USB 3.0 ports at the back, a wired gigabit Ethernet port, optical audio, HDMI out, HDMI in, and also the power connector. It's a sleek, nice looking product, sits nicely under your TV, and you can customize the color of the logos on the front here. The operating system installed on this PC is SteamOS, which is based on Linux, and if I'm correct, I see absolutely no reason why you couldn't install Windows on this by yourself either. Also, some elements of the Alienware Steam machine can be upgraded if you wanted to do that. The memory, hard drive and CPU, for example. The GPU unfortunately is integrated into the motherboard and cannot be upgraded. So what's the point of the Steam machine then? Who's it marketed at? Well, my understanding of it is it's PC flexibility and performance with console simplicity. It's very small, it's very quiet, you can stick it under your TV and you're good to go. It's Valve's way of helping out console gamers who want to play PC games without having to research and build a PC. That's certainly how it's been presented and marketed to me since it was announced, and that's my understanding of it. But does it work well in that way, and is it a justifiable purchase? The version Alienware sent to me is their top spec, and in the UK that'll set you back £698.99. In the US, it's priced at $749.99. The cheapest spec you can get comes in at £448.99 in the UK and $449.99 in the US. When you load the Steam machine up, it boots straight into the SteamOS and you log in with your Steam account. It's pretty straightforward. If there are any updates for the machine or the controller, it will download those automatically too. It's worth noting as well that you can run this in normal Linux desktop mode if you wanted to, but I don't, so I kept it in the SteamOS version. So from here you can browse the store, browse the internet, chat on Steam and play games. Now of course, this being a Steam machine, you can only play games that are on Steam. So that means no Battlefield, no Battlefront, no Overwatch, no Uplay, no League of Legends. And you should really know that before you think about buying a Steam machine. It hooks up with your existing Steam account too, so anything you've got on your library there you can play on here. But, and this is one of the biggest cons for me, not all games run on Linux. So out of the 164 games that I own on Steam, for example, when I check the filter box for SteamOS games, I can only play 59 of them natively on the Steam machine, and the rest of them, if I wanted to play them, would actually be streamed over my internet from my gaming PC, which isn't ideal. They won't look as sharp, there'll be some artifacting and pixelation, and there'll also be a small amount of input lag. Plus, not everyone has a gaming PC to do this. If you're just buying a Steam machine, you're going to be limited to the games that you can play, especially when it comes to newer titles. You can't play Black Ops 3 or Fallout 4 natively on SteamOS, for example, and of course people who are buying one of these will want to play those type of games. Also in the store, when you go to the filters and you check the box that says, okay, only show me games that I can play on SteamOS. For some reason, it still shows me games that I can't play natively on SteamOS, like Tomb Raider or Fallout 4 or Black Ops 3. And this is really bad from a consumer standpoint, and inevitably, people will end up buying games that they won't be able to play on this system. Moving on, let's take a look at the gaming performance. I downloaded and installed several games that run natively on this device. As you can see, there are some relatively new CPU, and AAA titles here that work. For the most part, all of these games run well and at acceptable frame rates, and I would always run them at 1920 by 1080 with a mix of medium and some high settings. Remember though, we're only working with a GTX 860M GPU here, and by today's standards, that's not a powerful GPU, so if you pick this up, don't expect to run modern games maxed out because it won't work out well for you. You need to limit your expectations here, so I'd stick with medium settings at best on new games, and you'll have a good time hitting between 30 to 60 FPS on average. However, the older games like Portal 2, Half-Life 2, CSGO, or arcadey 2D games, even the new ones, you can run those at higher settings for sure. So how about that Steam controller then? Well, when Valve first announced this, I have to admit I was really excited. There's 2 high resolution trackpads here with haptic feedback, extra paddles on the back, all the buttons you could ever want and need. Is this going to give us the perfect balance between a mouse and keyboard and a controller, I thought? Maybe it could. Having used it now for several different titles, I'm not so sure. It's very weird and hard to get used to start with. Plus the haptic feedback is really noisy. Have a listen to this. That's not ideal, is it? Don't get me wrong, you can have an okay gaming experience with this controller. You can configure the hell out of it using official presets, community presets, but ultimately I've tried, and I just can't get used to it, and I never feel completely comfortable using it. For me, I would always prefer plugging in a Xbox controller or just using a mouse and keyboard with the Steam machine, which kind of defeats the purpose. The Steam controller is not for me. I don't find it intuitive to use at all, and I think that most gamers would agree. Yes, it makes strategy and building games easier because of the trackpads, and they're going to offer you more accuracy with those sort of games, but that's about the only time I would find it advantageous on a standard controller with 2 analog sticks. In conclusion, honestly, I'm kind of confused by this product. In terms of price, I think it's too expensive at the moment. The base version in the UK, like I said, comes in at £448.99, and for that price, you could easily build a small form factor mini ITX Windows PC that you could have in your living room that drastically outperforms this, and you could also plug in an Xbox One controller or get a wireless Xbox One controller, and you're going to have access to all of the games available on PC. Or, of course, you could buy a console for a lot cheaper if you want a living room gaming experience. Now, I know this isn't a direct comparison, and it's not who the Steam machine's aimed at, because a gaming console obviously isn't a PC, but a 1TB PS4 at the moment will set you back around £249 in the UK, and I think that's a pretty good deal. I could only see Steam machines be useful for someone who's got a lot of money, doesn't have time to learn or build a PC, and wants to natively play Steam games on their TV where everything is already set up and ready to go. For everyone else, if you want to play Steam games on your PC, I'd recommend picking up Steam Link for $50, which will stream all of your Steam games from your gaming PC to your TV. And it has 2 USB ports on it, so you could plug in a controller or mouse and keyboard, of course. But I've used one of these Steam Links at home and tested it a few times now, and if you use it over Wi-Fi, it's pretty bad. So make sure you've got a wired connection available where you plug it in, otherwise you're going to have a bad time. Ultimately, whilst I think the Alienware Steam Machine is a cool product, it's only going to appeal to a small, wealthy audience. Having a decent spec gaming PC this tiny that will go in your living room is pretty neat, but at the moment, it's very limited in terms of content that will run natively on the device, and it's definitely too expensive right now when compared to the other options available. As well as this, personally, I'm not a fan of the Steam controller, and I don't think the vast majority of gamers will enjoy it either. And that's all I've got, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thanks for watching as always. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, thumbs down if you didn't, and I'll see you in the next one.
There he is.
Oh, I legged him. Oh, the no scope.